Hi there, and welcome to SimplyScale, a series by simplyvat.com aimed at helping 6, 7, and 8-figure sellers scale with stories from experts and entrepreneurs. We want to bring you on the journey of business owners from startup to sale. Today, I'm going to be talking to Rick Wong, founder of SellerMetrics and former e-commerce seller up until last year when he exited his business. Rick is a fellow Canadian from Toronto, Canada. He started out in a finance career until he found a book, which I'm sure many of you are well aware of, called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, which completely inspired him to take a sabbatical from that finance career and start his journey into e-commerce. Today, we are joined by Rick Wong, founder of SellerMetrics and former e-commerce seller up until last year when he exited his business. So what drew you into reading the book when you were presumably quite comfortable working in the finance industry?
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me, Alex. Fellow Canadians, we should really just change the segment to Canadians killing it on Amazon or something like that. There's actually quite a few of us, we're scattered here and there in the world of Amazon. Yeah, so I guess, what kind of got me out of finance and start my Amazon business is on a high level, I think everybody kind of wants to be their own boss and call the shots, take control of their life. When you're in a big company for a certain period of time, you actually lose control of that, right? So I think the message in the book really hit me, really tugged at me really hard at that particular point in my life. It also really opened up my mind in terms of digital business because Tim Ferriss in the book mentioned a lot of these type of businesses. And that kind of foreshadow of what really happened next after, during the sabbatical.
So how did you even end up finding out about selling online, and where did you even start when starting your business?
Yeah, so I took a sabbatical, as I mentioned. I took a sabbatical and never really came back. So I'm not really sure you call that sabbatical. During that time when I left my job, I did the whole Eat, Pray, Love thing. If you know that movie with Julia Roberts. Yeah, so I did a lot of traveling. That would include Europe and Southeast Asia. Met a lot of people. Really opened up my eyes because when I was in the world of finance, it's basically a bit of a bubble of its own. And it was actually in Thailand where I actually met somebody that actually sold products on Amazon. So that really got me into it. And as mentioned earlier, the book with Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek, he mentioned a lot about online businesses, right? But actually meeting someone up close that sold online really pushed me over the edge to really start. Because I don't come from a very entrepreneurial background. Like my family of friends, they're all, kind of like me, like a full-time job, don't take huge risk. So when this person actually come up and I actually see up close and really gave me very actionable advice, he kind of basically become my Yoda in my early years and really just mentored me and really gave me the mindset to really start.
That's amazing, and especially having somebody there to kind of push you and hold you accountable and keep going. What was your strategy when you started out with your business? Did you even have one? Did your mentor kind of help you form a strategy, or was it just dive in and see what works?
Yeah, I think my mentor really gave me a basic set of strategy. I don't think my strategy changed all that much over time. It was first, get the first batch of product that were small, cheap, that was easy to ship. Although nowadays that advice might be a little not good advice nowadays because that market is a little saturated. Back then, you could still source a product that is relatively small and cheap and 10x it, right? And my main strategy at that time was to really concentrate on Amazon. There are other business models such as drop shipping, different affiliate marketing, stuff like that. I decided to concentrate on Amazon because even back then, I knew like there were people actually looking to buy Amazon businesses. So even then, I was actually thinking about an exit. And I think over time, my strategy, again, didn't really change too much. And it's also kept within a certain niche and also Amazon heavy. So I don't really spend too much time on off Amazon like operations such as Shopify or maybe eBay, right? But I would say that looking back, I probably would have widened my product base in terms of niche and size. So I would capture more opportunities. So now looking back, like there were actually a lot of product opportunities for products that are larger size, that are harder to ship, right? Because the common sense back then was that avoid these large products because there's a lot of people taking in that knowledge, like the supply and demand, there's like an imbalance there. So I think I probably missed out. I missed out a little bit in the beginning by having that type of criteria.
How many products or SKUs did you start with, and how many did you end up with when you exited?
Okay, so I started with, hold on, let me move my mic over a bit. Yeah, so I started with 3 SKUs. In my first 3 months, they did pretty well. Unfortunately, one of the SKU got hammered by Amazon for trademark copyright infringement. So that's when I really first learned that, Amazon could do this. You gotta be really careful. When I exited in 2020, I grew to around 20 to 25 SKUs. I forgot the exact number. But yeah, so just basically that many SKUs. But not only I increased the SKUs, I scaled to the number of different marketplaces that Amazon is present, such as Japan and Europe.
So walk us through the trajectory of your business. So where you started in terms of which marketplaces that you started in, and then kind of how you grew over the years and which markets you entered into.
Yeah, so I kind of started off with Europe when I first, not Europe. So I started in US, and then since US and Canada is the same account, it was very easy for me to start selling in Canada that way. So after Canada, I increased the number of SKUs, and then that's when I decided to really put the foot on the metal to really grow the business. So I scaled all those SKUs I had in Amazon.com and Canada and placed them into UK, Germany, and other marketplaces in Europe. So I think that really supercharged my growth because the market in Europe is pretty large. But there are some complications in terms of scaling that business. I think we can talk about that a bit later. And then eventually around 2019, that's when I spent a lot of time in Amazon Japan as well. That did okay. I mean, Japan is actually okay if you could get through the language issue. After that, it's pretty good because the competition is a bit lower. You don't have to worry too much about the VAT. So I know you guys are doing VAT, so you don't have to deal with that. So so basically that's before I sold it, it's 20 to 25 SKUs across Japan and Europe and the North American marketplaces. Yeah.
Wow. So quite a diverse field, really. So if you were going to start again, which market would you enter into first? Where would you go from?
Yeah, I would probably start from non-US marketplaces because it's really highly competitive. Some of the marketplaces that you can start, I think, is UK, Germany, Australia. I think the Australian marketplace is really growing, and I think it could really potentially be a factor in your Amazon business in the future. And for me, when I grew, I think on the top line, the marketplace that did really well in terms of just top level sales is obviously US. But at the same time, you have your other marketplaces to pad your margins as well. The less competitive marketplaces such as Japan, other marketplaces in Europe, the competition is much lower. So your actual margins in terms of net profit on each sale is actually higher. So you have your top line sales on your Amazon.com. At the same time, you can sell in these other marketplaces to increase your margins.
Okay, yeah, I definitely hear that the US market is quite competitive. So
Yeah.
definitely looking internationally. And
And potentially you could use Simply VAT to deal your VAT to, lessen the tax burden. Yeah.
We love the plug. Yeah. So I think what's really unique about your experience, and from speaking to you beforehand as well, is that you moved to Hong Kong to be closer to your suppliers, and yeah, really kind of be integrated in that supply chain and build those relationships. So what sort of impact do you think that had on your business being able to move over there?
Yeah, I think it's very hard to put that in numbers. At the end of the day, business is about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, in theory, you could do all your business via Skype, email, and don't really even have to meet the supplier. But by building these like long-lasting relationships, for example, there are particular QC issues or price hiccups, right? And we know nowadays there's a lot of issue with logistics and things are not working quite as normally would, right? There's a lot more hiccups than it used to be, right? Mm-hmm. And by forming these relationships, the suppliers and other business partner will be more willing to work with me versus if I were just, some guy online, right, that they haven't met. So I think if shit hits the fan, right, that's where the importance of building up your relationship and being close to supplier would really come in.
That bond is being created. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I guess looking back across your whole journey in the e-commerce space, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in scaling your business?
Yeah, so the selling part, the initial part of selling, I don't think I struggled that much because I was like doing everything myself. I understood it. I spent the time to learn it. But I think once you scale it, you have to start hiring and managing people, right? And it's very tough to hire people in this space that are proficient in Amazon. And also, obviously, in the beginning of your business, you can't really afford to hire somebody really senior. And obviously, the really good ones would probably do their own thing on Amazon as well. So Amazon is not something that they teach in university or anything like that. So although I think they should. But yeah, so having to hire, manage, and basically teach your members of staff, that's like the really challenging part when you scale. And I think the next thing, Amazon PPC, obviously, this is something that is very difficult to operate for some sellers. But for all Amazon sellers, PPC requires a lot of your attention and is a huge suck in terms of your time and expense as well. And the expense just keeps coming up. So I think for me back then, it was a challenge. I think Amazon PPC is potentially even more of a challenge now.
Wow. It's quite a scary world out there for anyone that's entering. Okay, so those are the challenges you faced. And is there a specific way that you would advise sellers to overcome, especially maybe where to start with the hiring process or where to start with, PPC advertising?
Yeah, so in terms of hiring process, I would think about how you just really think through how you do things, because sometimes when you do things, you just do things without really thinking through it. So I think the key is like having a mindset of, okay, I'm doing this task. If I want somebody to, do this task for me or do something for me, what type of person should be hired? What are their skill sets, right? Do they need to be technical? Do they need to have good marketing skills? Do they need, to have like outreach skills, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to think about that. And then at that point, you kind of know the profile of the people that you want to hire. And then in terms of everything else, all the technicals, you just write down on a SOP using Google Doc, Notion, whatever. Document as much as possible, right? This will just, number one, help out the person that you hire, and number two, it really helps you refine and really think about what you need to hire for, right? So that is like advice that I would give people now, not just Amazon, but people that are starting their own startups, new business that are making their first 1 or 2 hires.
And what about for the PPC side? Where should people even begin?
Yeah, so PPC, maybe use SellerMetrics. Yeah, but okay, and honestly, I think like in the beginning when you have like first couple of SKUs, you don't need any software. I think it's very important to like actually understand and look into the metrics. There are a lot of resources out there that you can like learn and basically pick up on. I think for anything in Amazon, it's very important to actually know how to do it yourself before you outsource. I think a lot of people are underestimating the actual information on the Amazon ad console itself. There are actually like a lot of good information. There are tutorials on there. There's very detailed FAQs there. So I think just looking and just like spending time on the Amazon ad console and look through what Amazon has in terms of knowledge base, I think that can get you started. And then you could just like fill in the blanks as you start doing it. But yeah, I know, a lot of people find numbers math intimidating, but at the end of the day, it's actually, if you're willing to spend some time on it, it's actually not that hard. It's basically, you see your numbers, move around, and then your target is this number, and then because of that, you make a bid change, for example, or you do your calculus on what's your profit margin for a product, and that is your target ACOS, for example. So at the end of the day, not only Amazon PPC, but on a high level, Amazon is a bit of a numbers game. So the more successful sellers will really know their numbers inside and out. So I think Amazon PPC is part of it. So I think, to get semi-proficient in Amazon PPC, it just enables you to be successful in other parts of Amazon as well. So Amazon PPC could be hard, but think about this, that it could potentially be a huge factor in your Amazon success.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's really important for any business to make sure that you got it on lock. Right. So moving on, in 2020, you ended up selling your business. So back then, aggregators weren't as much of a thing as they are now. Obviously, we've seen there's about 85 aggregators in this space.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So first off, like what triggered you to sell your business? You mentioned earlier that you were always planning for an exit. So what kind of triggered that selling, that point in your mind saying, okay, I'm ready to sell?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about the number of aggregators. So I sold my business in 2020, and even before that, there wasn't too many aggregators that you could really name. Other than Thrashio, they were like the OG in the space. There's a few OGs as well, but it wasn't like, there's like dozens of, new ones popping up in 2021. It definitely was not like that, right? So I decided. So at that point, I wouldn't say I was bored of selling on Amazon, but I was looking for a new challenge. And personally, I was about to start a new family in last year. So I think it just really made sense for me personally and also professionally to sell my brand at that point. Some argue that I should have waited a little bit, like in 2021 to sell my brand because all the aggregators, but I mean, it is what it is. I would not really like change a thing.
Perfect. I mean, yeah, it's all down to timing and when you want to do it and what's best for you. So when you started out, when you started out ready to sell, where did you or who did you go to sell? Where did you even look to start?
Yeah, so I looked into brokers. So I think so before the aggregators, I think the rule of thumb is to use brokers because they have a list of vetted buyers. Because in the online space, somebody like offer you like say, oh, I want to buy your business, it's a little dodgy. So I think having that middleman really helps to smooth everything out. Yeah, you have to pay a commission, but I think it's worth it because they have a large list of sellers and they could potentially get into a bidding war for your business. And they also smooth out the negotiating process as well. So that is definitely something that I would do for a new seller. But nowadays, again, like with the aggregators, if they like something, they'll just gonna offer you like hardcore cash, like a pretty good multiple. And I mean, just take it, right? Like if you want, right? I think it's like the calculus, the kind of the buying selling equation now, it's changed a lot since like the aggregators come in. And in terms of who I sold it to like a larger seller. It was like more of like a strategic buy for them. I think they were in the same niche. So in turn, I think last I heard, they sold their business to a aggregator, and it's kind of like a roll up within a roll up, kind of like that. And I actually think that's might be a common theme in the coming years because there's just so many aggregators nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like quite a strategic buy. So yeah, actually quite interesting to hear that.
Yeah.
That happened to you.
Yeah, so I was selling consumer electronics and they were selling consumer electronics. So I think they kind of view it as like potential synergies there. So I think that's the reason they bought it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you sold your business and you obviously started a new family, so congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And then you landed on SellerMetrics. So what led you to start up SellerMetrics from there?
Yeah, so when I sold my business in 2020, it's largely because I wanted to do something new. Although I did sell my Amazon product-based business, I do believe in the Amazon marketplace. I do have like a large investment in it in terms of not only just monetary, but also personal investments. And I know I want to still be involved somehow. And the Amazon PPC space or advertising space has always fascinated me. Maybe, because I'm from finance, I love looking at numbers and data and stuff like that. Could be. And ever since I started selling on Amazon, there always has been Amazon PPC software, but it seems like none would say tailored specifically for the sellers in terms of price, functionality, and also price transparency. I think that's a big one. For example, some were priced fairly, but are missing some key features. While some software out there are a bit of a black box where you set one number and they can't really explain to you how the bid chains work in a way that you're comfortable with, right? So at the end of 2020, I hired a developer to start building SellerMetrics, which is an Amazon PPC software that can automate all the critical Amazon PPC optimization workflows and support all the Amazon ad types. So that would be sponsored brand video, sponsored display, sponsored brand, and sponsored products. And in terms of the market, not all software would support all these ad types. So off the get, we support everything and allows the sellers to like scale out all the different ad types. And also in terms of pricing, I offer like a bit of a flat rate pricing in terms that it's a tier based, not percentage of your ad spend. So when you grow, right, your expense does not, grow in tandem, right? So you could scale at a certain point before you go to the next tier of the price range, right? And as of this, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So to add to what I'm doing right now, so as of this recording, we have supported 100 sellers. Managed close to $2 million in ad spends. A lot of them show a lot of improvement in terms of sales and ACoS pretty immediately after the use if they use our bidding algorithm. at the same time, they also save a lot of time in terms of time is spent on Amazon PPC to allocate in other parts of the business. And just additional plug, we have a 14 days trial, so feel free to give it a shot.
It sounds like SellerMetrics is really a good way to kind of for you to kind of give back to the community and really just kind of fighting for the sellers as well, and just kind of helping them scale. Because for me, from my perspective, PPC is quite a daunting topic, but it sounds like you've kind of really looked at it from a seller point of view and built up what a seller would need on a day-to-day basis when growing their business.
Yeah, I like to think so. So I don't think too many of these products are built actually from a seller. And there are particular things that seller does that's a lot of, like when they build it, right? When they don't really have seller in mind, right? It would be a product that would be something that is, number one, very difficult to use, and two, does not really scale out well to different marketplaces. As in, like you're managing. So I told you I was selling in all these different marketplaces. So all the Amazon accounts I would manage would be like close to 10.
Yeah.
Right. So the more marketplace I scale, the complexity just goes up exponentially. So I feel like a lot of software out there that, the more marketplace you add in, right, the more time you spend on the platform, which shouldn't be the case. So with SellerMetrics, in one logon, you could actually see the data across like all your accounts, right? So you could do everything all at once instead of just like keep going into different accounts every single time.
Wow. It sounds really useful. And I think time is also the biggest thing that, people don't have enough of. So yeah,
100%.
Being able to limit the amount of time you spend managing your PPC is quite important. So I have one final question for you today. So if you could restart your e-commerce business now, what is one thing that you would change and one thing that you'd keep the same about your journey?
Yeah. I think I would definitely move faster, and so that I would launch more product faster and also cut my loss faster. So I think there's a situation that I keep holding up hope that this product will become good. But I feel the best way forward is to just keep turning them out, like, fail faster, right? Launch faster. That is, I think that's also the Silicon Valley motto as well. So if something does not seem, at some point you have enough experience to know that, even the metrics kind of look good, you kind of have a feeling that it's not going to do good long term. So follow your feeling, right? At that point, cut the product and look for the next big thing. And also what I would continue like really focusing on is like continue to get better at delegating and finding great people to work with, because at the end of the day, business, not just Amazon selling, is to scale to get a certain point, right? It's like sports, it's a team game. So you need to find the right people, and after you found the right people, you have to be willing to delegate the work and just trust people.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all of your insight today that you've given to us and telling us all about your journey from startup to selling your business. And we wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Alex.
My pleasure. That's it today on SimplyScale Journey. If you want to learn more about Rick's experience when exiting his business, you can check out the link in the show notes. Whilst you're here, have a listen to some of our other episodes available. Otherwise, I'll speak to you soon. Bye.